Welcome to edition 114 of All Killa No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn and Kiri Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, we'll do our usual disclaimer. This isn't hero worship. We do this podcast because we have mutual interest in serial killers. As long as we are doing this podcast, it stops us from writing to them in prison.
Hello, welcome to the November episode. Thank you so much for all the lovely messages about the Halloween episodes. And because I'm on tour still, people have been saying how much they've enjoyed the Halloween three-parter. So just really glad you enjoyed it. This is going to be the November episode, and then we might have a little bonus one coming out at the start of December for you.
Yes.
And then we're going to look at something a bit different for Christmas, for our Christmas multi-parter that I'm quite excited for. So there you go. There's your All Killa No Filla scheduling for the rest of the year.
And thanks to everyone who came to see us in Ireland.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah. We've had the Irish show since then. That was so fun. Really, really fun. So yeah, thank you so much. And Newcastle at Christmas is looking, it was at the end of the month, isn't it? Nuts. Yeah. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
It's in a couple of weeks, really.
Yeah.
I've already I'm spending the night before in Newcastle.
Me too.
So I'll be fresh. Oh, are you? So you'll be there on the Monday?
Well, I'm gigging around the corner. I'm in Redcar, so I'm in the area.
Oh, you
so
doing
maybe
your
we
show?
should find some charity shops. No, I'm just doing a gig. Yeah, just doing a gig. So.
I've not had a chance to see your show because of scheduling.
It's because of scheduling conflicts. Yeah.
Don't off like that.
No, I'm not huffing like I'm having a go, but I'm huffing as in like you're busy, you know.
I know.
It's when there's
like
friends of. Yeah, but you know when you've got mates who are like not busy, and I'm like, you could have come to see the show,
well,
and I specifically said, do you want to see it? But yeah,
here's my pet hate. Right, here's mine.
We're into it straight away.
Okay, you can't win with me, but so people who announce that they're coming to your gig, right? Fine, come. It's a free country, to a degree. You buy a ticket, but I'm at work. If I came to your office and was like, if I rang you and went, hello, I'll be at your office at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can come to my work, it's fine. But it doesn't mean to say you get to commandeer my time, okay? I'm at work. Secondly, here's the other thing. People who say, oh, I'm thinking of coming to your show. Yeah, great. Oh, I'll pop you on the guest list if you want. Great. The day of, oh, sorry, we can't make it. Fuck you. Fuck you. Seriously. And don't get me wrong, there's people obviously that, of course things happen. But it's just that thing of like, I don't know, it just really annoys me. It really, really annoys me. And
I think if you've gone to the problem of arranging comps, which I don't think people like, it's at your cost, right? So you're paying for a ticket for them to come and see a show, essentially. Yeah. And if they turn around, I want to see a fucking death certificate. I want to see you, a picture of you in traction at hospital. Yeah. Like, if it's just because you can't be asked, like, and listen, I'm the queen of can't be asked, saying I'll do something and then being like, I would rather die than go and do this thing, but I will go and do the thing.
But also, I'd have more respect for you if you were honest. And listen, I'm not. I know obviously some people do have things
Rachel.
that pop up. A friend of mine recently had something pop up, and I was like, "Of course, of course. Why would you come? That's a thing. That's a genuine thing." But what I'm saying is, I don't care if you come or don't, but don't involve me in any fucking way in you being there. Does that make sense? Like, don't tell me you're coming, and then don't ask to say you're thinking of coming. Don't involve me. Come or don't come. Yeah?
I think though, when you were like, I was rather you're honest. If I turned around and said, Rachel, I know I'm going to be coming to see your show in London tonight, but I really can't be asked.
Fine.
I think that would annoy you more on the day of a show.
But that's the thing as well. I think manners would be, if you don't come, I won't notice anyway. So if you then messaged me the day after and said, look, I'm really sorry, I didn't come last night because blah, blah, blah. Yeah, fine. But don't bother me on the day of a bloody show.
If I didn't come and I went, oh my God, amazing show, sorry, I had to rush off?
No, just be honest.
Okay.
Just be honest, I'm
just prepping for when I pretend I'm going to come and see you at all.
And may I just say, this isn't against anyone. This is against people that I've known for a long time that do this. This is people that I've known for years and years and years that tend to do this. That take me for granted, quite frankly. So, which they do, which they do. Anyway, we are. So
Rachel, I would never take you for granted.
Thanks, mate. So listen, your tour is coming. You've got 16 shows left, I believe.
At time of recording, when does this come out? Next week? Yes, something similar. Actually, I'll be down to I think 11 shows. Maybe when this comes out.
Almost in the single figures. Your tour is. There's still time to catch you. Listen, I'm going to get this in at the beginning. My tour is on sale. RachelFairburn.com. Next February, March, April. Please come along. Come and see it. Manchester's nearly sold out.
But don't tell her either way. Just don't mention it.
Come, don't come, whatever. It's like when people go, can't make the show tonight, 3 tickets. Don't give a shit, mate. Do not give a shit. I've got the money. I don't care. Come. I don't care if the whole audience decides they don't want to come. But thanks
genuinely,
if you do.
if you turned up, right, and you'd sold half the venue, so good, good, decent sales, and none of them turned up, I think I might be thrilled, even though I love my show.
Yeah, I like my job. I love my job. I love doing the show. I love it. But there's nothing better than a night off. Yes, fucking please.
Yeah.
No one. What? No one's shown up. There's been an accident. You say. Motorway pile up.
No, don't say that. One of my brilliant tour spots, I won't name who it is in case it sort of compromises them, but they're doing a tour and they looked at their sales updates and they had really good pre-sales and they messaged their friend. So it's only a small venue, and so I think they sold 20 tickets or something like that. And they messaged their friend and went, listen, if you want to come along, you should book tickets soon. It's selling pretty well. And they went, oh no, don't worry. I booked 20 tickets for me and all my friends. And he was like, oh.
Great. So I'm just doing a show to you lot. Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm doing a gig in your living room, but not in your living room.
See, that's actually very sweet, but not.
It's so sweet.
But not what we want.
No.
Anyway.
Do you know what? One of the things I love about touring is getting to see friends from yesteryear all over the country.
You
I really like that.
Yeah, great. Yeah, sounds fucking brilliant. Great. Oh, what should we have a chat about when we used to work together? No fucking thank you.
Right, let's move on.
Okay. Right. This is, we say it's probably a serial killer, I would say. But it's also a bit of a romp, I would say, a bit of light-hearted. I'd say, not that you can be light-hearted, but it just feels, a bit, after everything we've done this year, it feels a little bit lighter. So this is Louisa May Merrifield, the Blackpool poisoner. Also, the third to last woman to be hanged in the UK by Albert Pierrepoint. Louisa was born on the 3rd of December 1906 in Wigan, Lancashire. Youngest of 5 daughters and 2 sons. The father was called Job Highway. Pretty cool name, that. He was
really
born in
great name.
Job Highway. He was born in 1867. He was a underground labourer in a coal mine. That's a hard job. The mother was called Emma. So there was a lot of children. 2 of the children died in infancy as well. So that was a big family. She gets married, Louisa. Her first husband, Joseph Ellison. She has 6 kids with him. 2 of those kids die in infancy as well. Now, she lost custody of her 4 surviving daughters and 2 sons. She was sent to prison for 84 days in 1946 for ration book fraud. Because what she did was she stole her neighbour's ration book and used it. What a little shit.
I've heard it wasn't that. I've heard my research was that she was using her dead dad's ration book and all she was getting extra was 5 grams of cheese. And then they took her to court for it because obviously it was, even though we're post-war here, things are still rationed for a long time. So they went, okay, you've got a £10 fine, ration book fraud. She went, I'm not paying that. And so they put her in prison for 84 days, which is a long time, like a third of a year to be in prison for basically 5 grams of cheese.
Nah, but when everyone's struggling, you're a cunt. When everyone's struggling.
I agree. I'm not saying it's good. Also, what's interesting about this is she was kind of raised in the Salvation Army was a really big part of her life, right? So as a kid, I think her parents were involved in it. She became a Salvation Army officer. And at the time, apparently the Salvation Army, who I will say, very strong line in charity shops. Very, very strong line in charity shops.
Very good.
their sort of saying, their motto was soup, soap, salvation. And genuinely, I am regressing so much next year, 2025, my year of being wholesome. That's my new fucking saying. It's just going to be soups. I'm going to be washing. I'm going to be having more baths. I'm going to be making some soap. And that will lead to my salvation. That is my 2025. I cannot wait for it.
Are you going to make the soup?
Yeah, I'm going to make the soup. Actually, really, listen, it's so boring to talk about soup, but I love it. It's great, but it's brilliant. I love it. I love it.
I got to be in the mood for a soup, but let me tell you, don't give me soup out of a tin. It tastes fucking disgusting, tin soup. It's absolutely vile. It's one of my real sort of in life, tin soup.
Is it because you can taste the metal?
I just hate it. Just has a really weird taste and I cannot stand it. Carton, sure, I'll give it a go. But it's got to be fresh. Or chicken and sweet corn soup from the Chinese. Do you know what? It's only 20 to 10 in the morning. Do you know what? We need to start recording this in the afternoon or the evening because I'm a much better person. I've got to warm up. Do you know what I mean? It's daytime. It's the morning. And then it's done,
but,
you know.
But Rachel, you're the one who's like, let's get it fucking out the doors. Let's get it recorded. Like when we're talking about going back forward between me, you, and brilliant Owen, who produces this, who, by the way, keep getting lots of compliments on the shelves. They're Owen's. So that's sorry for the people who can see the podcast. There's some bookshelves behind me. You're always like, if it was up to you, we would have this podcast recorded by 6:15 a.m. before the sun had come up, so you can get on with your day.
I do stick to that. I do think it is better to get things done in the morning. So you know, sometimes like you, sometimes when you get an appointment and someone goes 3:30, I'm like, are you fucking for real? 3:30 in the afternoon? No. Morning, yes. 3:30, no.
At this time of year, 3:30, I won't want pyjamas on. I want to be lighting a fire in the house.
I mean, yesterday, I was thinking yesterday, I was like, I don't remember it being so dark. Like, last night, I'd been to the gym, done everything I needed to do, did some work, and then I thought, I think I'll have a shower in it. I was like, it's 5:30.
But also, do you know, there's a weird thing at the moment where it's really dark in the day because of some cyclone?
Well, today is the first day where there's a bit of sun coming through. There's a bit of blue sky, but it's been really gloomy, hasn't it? It's like really grey, gloomy.
I'm just ready to hibernate. Soup, soap, salvation, 2025.
Thank you for bringing us
she's
back.
Released. Louisa is released from prison after 84 days. She goes back to her husband, Joseph. Now, Joseph... She has a trail of dead husbands behind her, is one thing I would say. He dies of something horrible.
Yeah, hepatitis.
Sub-acute.
Yeah, something
It's
hepatitis.
like sub-infectious acute hepatitis, which sounds fucking awful.
It sounds really grim.
And not... Yeah, just like, you know when something's you're like, right, well, that's fucking painful. That something's got to be squeezed on that.
Aged 44. She cracks on, though. I mean, the second husband she meets, 78-year-old Richard Weston in February 1950. So bear in mind, he's just died in 1949. February 1950. Now listen, 10 weeks later, he dies of a heart attack, Richard. So then she meets her third husband in August 1950. She marries him. So that's 3 husbands in 10 months. Mad, that,
what
innit?
A legend.
Mad.
It's fucking... Also, like, how is she planning... People take a year to plan a wedding, and she's fucking banged out 3 in 10 months.
But this was the old days, wasn't it? You know, I think people still have that sort of post-war panic, that war panic, like, oh, God, right, quick, we better do this now because we might get killed.
Yeah.
There's that sort of thing happening. And also, I always think, like, the old days, you know, people have these big families because children die very young, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's like, they got so much more done in such short space of time.
Yeah.
Depressing
and
incredible.
I heard the other day, I think my partner was talking about this. You know, the whole, like, you know, during the Blitz, they were really, you know, keep calm and carry on, all that kind of stuff. So they were really worried about, like, basically the population going insane because it was so scary to be, like, nearly... Yeah, but like nearly bombed all the time and then locked up and in bunkers and things. And they were just so worried about the mental health of the nation. But because humans are pigs. What happened was, in the first Blitz attack, obviously everyone was like, this is so scary and fucked up, and I'm in a state of heightened anxiety all the time, and this is awful. And then after that, once it became kind of normal, oh God, I'm going to yawn.
Sorry, you're bored of war, are you?
I am actually, Rachel, and I only wish you were, and the rest of the world. No, I'm dealing with the repercussions of having someone you host a podcast with who wants to do everything before fucking 10 a.m.
Yeah,
anyway,
but it's best way to do it. Best way to do it. Get it done.
So once the Blitz sort of attacks became a regular thing, and they were like, "Oh, everyone's going to go wild." What actually happened is that people, like humans, became so arrogant. They, saw people dying, and as soon as they lived through one, they were like, "Oh, I don't actually die in these things. That's the thing that someone else does." So they just, like, their resting position was, "Oh, I'm kind of God's chosen me to I'm not worried about the Blitz because that's how other people die. I don't actually die," and stuff like that. It's, obviously God's looking after me. But isn't that wild that they were like, we're really worried about everyone's mental health and how stressful that's going to be. And then what actually happened is humans are like doubled down on being pricks.
Yeah, but I think that's a better way to be quite honest, in that sort of scenario. I wouldn't say that we were living in a war zone here. I wouldn't want to be one of those that's like constantly on edge. I'd be like, all right, well, if you have that attitude of this isn't going to happen to me, I think
resting arrogance.
Well, I think that's a healthier attitude. I think what you're going to walk around being all the time. You won't be resilient. You won't get on with things. You won't have a life if you.
I think there's another way, which is to be like, if it happens, it happens, and live every day like it's your last. Also, I would argue that lots of people were doing that and then absolutely banging a load of GIs and being like, could be dead tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully we'll never have to worry about it.
God, that'd be terrible in a war.
Hopefully
I'd walk into the sea.
I think I'd be quite good. I think I'd be quite... I'd have a go.
I could see you with a bayonet.
Oh, yeah. I think I'd be more... I don't think I'd be weapons-based. I think I'd be more sort of covert.
Espionage.
Something. Oh, yeah. Give me a bit of espionage.
Do you know Ian Fleming used to be a spy? I didn't know that.
I don't really know much about him, to be honest. It's not really a genre of literature that I'm massively into, spy stuff.
My partner read what was like, oh, I should read a James Bond, read it and could not stop laughing. He said it's the maddest thing. For a start, Bond is like the worst person in the world. Like, firstly, he smokes like 20 cigarettes a day. He sleeps in a single bed. When he's talking about food, he only ever talks about eating eggs and bacon. And he openly hates women. So he was like, it's a line from nowhere. He didn't think that women should be spies, Bond. And he's like, they should go back to gossiping with each other and looking after their houses. Like, he's just such an outrageous cunt.
Listen.
I think it's saying all that and then getting into a single bed. Why is it so funny that James Bond sleeps in a single bed?
Listen.
Like he's in a house share.
If James Bond wants me to just gossip and be in the house all day, I'm more than fucking happy to do that. That's practically me now. Isn't that my job when we're doing this? This is practically what I'm doing. James Bond would be so proud.
You're a Bond girl. You did it, Rachel.
I did it. Okay, so now, this third husband she gets, 68-year-old widower Alfred Merrifield. Now, can we just stress as well, he did have a conviction for assaulting an 8-year-old girl. Sexually assaulting an 8-year-old girl. His wife had died in 1949. But before that, in 1928, he'd abandoned her and their 10 children. What a great guy.
Yeah. He sounds like an absolute arsehole. I'll be honest, no one in this sounds great. And everyone sounds like pricks. And also, I don't know why, but like it softens it because they've all got brilliant accents because it's happening in Wigan and Lee and like Blackpool, which are some of my favourite accents. But yeah, he's clearly an arsehole. He's assaulted a child and he has binned off 10 kids and a wife because he prefers drinking, basically.
Now, Louisa was 46 at the time. He's 68. And they're working sort of different jobs. Louisa does several sort of how to put this, service jobs. So she's working in people's houses, she's working it, but she gets sacked all the time for being dishonest and a thief. So
between the stat that's thrown around is between 1950 and 1953, they held 20 jobs.
Yes.
Because they would just basically get away with it, then get sacked. And obviously there was no references, there was no paper trail there. I mean, the fact that they're moving into people's houses quite often as a couple, and he is like a handyman and she's a cook or, maid, and the fact that he's got a conviction against him to do with children and hers is to do with basically fraud. People clearly couldn't check people's backgrounds or, find out if they're any good.
They're never going to get found out, are they? She's working at the Blackpool Tower as a cook. I don't want to eat anything she's made. I don't know why. It just makes me feel quite ill. No. When she sees an advert in the West Lancashire Evening Gazette on the 10th of March 1953 for respectable woman or couple to share furnished house rent-free for services to lady. Made that sound sexier than it was. It didn't mean services like that. It just meant, cooking, cleaning, whatever.
Well, there are rumours that at some point he does provide an extra service. But
we'll get to that in a bit.
Their relationship is quite tempestuous. Now, there's a brilliant woman called Margaret Gardner who I've read some bits about. So she was a landlady at a boarding house that they lived in and said that their relationship was absolutely toxic. She said that they would fight in the house and they'd swear at each other, they'd call each other horrible names. And apparently they were physically violent with each other. So she used to punch him and he would hit her back with a stick. Like, They're awful. Also, they're drunk all the time. Like, imagine having those people in your house, this poor woman. Now, one of those arguments, Margaret is there. And she was like, they were kicking off in the dining room and like physically fighting with each other. And apparently Louisa had stolen his pension book to get his money so she could go out drinking, and then his money got stopped, all this kind of stuff. And he would frequently accuse her of, he's like, she's trying to do me in. And she's going to poison me. One of the things he also said to someone else is that he was like, she carries around poison in a handbag. He was like, so the kind of writing was on the wall with these two, essentially. Horrible relationship.
Well, they're just a pair of piss cans, aren't they?
Yeah, but exactly. Both driven out, clearly alcoholics, and both driven by like, let's get money so we can get booze and just keep living our sort of like quite dishonest life. Yes. Who am I to judge in my era of soup?
You are in
soup. Salvation.
Yeah, that's you. Not till next year, though. You can still behave like a cunt now.
Thanks so much.
17. So the advert was placed by 79-year-old Sarah Ann Ricketts. Now, she'd lived alone for many years. Look, and I don't want to laugh at any of this, right? But she'd lived alone for many years. The latest housekeeper that she had left because she found it impossible to tolerate Sarah any longer. Now, the bungalow was 339 Devonshire Road, Blackpool, just half a mile from the promenade. As I say, Sarah was a widow. Now, I don't want to laugh because it's not that funny. But both of her husbands had gassed themselves in the kitchen.
Yes.
I mean,
it's not ideal, is it?
It's not ideal.
So William...
And it's not
William
funny.
John Ricketts, no. But I mean, this is the thing is like, what's really difficult about Sarah is she's a complicated character as well, the victim.
She's an arsehole.
And she may. So she was married to it's a couple of guys, but her second husband was William John Ricketts. He was a retired farmer. He died in 1946. He left her, he basically had a house that he got rent from, and he had investments and stuff. So he left her about just under shy of $5,000, which in those times was a really significant chunk of money. She owned the bungalow. Yeah, she also had from her first husband money from his estate as well. So she was quite wealthy, living in a really nice area.
She had two daughters who didn't really have anything to do with her at all.
But they didn't have anything to do with it. This is it. No. She's estranged from her daughters. And apparently one of her traits is that she would like she would change her will incredibly frequently and write people out for sort of the smallest thing, which
Look,
I'm like, oh God, but I'm like, I'd do that. I'd be that person,
mate,
I think.
absolutely. Catch me in the wrong mood, you're written out, mate. It says here as well, she was 4'8" and she's tall, described as difficult with a short temper. I hear you. I hear you. This is, listen, I don't need a will. Do you know what I mean? I've not got kids. So I don't have property. I don't have children. So any of this shit in here, do what you will with it, right? If I had a will, I would change it on a whim. You look at me wrong, you're out.
I've just got a new. I think my nieces and nephews are going to do very well out of me, basically. But I've just got a new niece yesterday, which is exciting.
Have
you? Yeah, my partner's. Yeah, my partner's.
That's nice.
Brother's had a beautiful kid. So yeah, but yeah, so I've got 3 nieces and nephews all together. They're going to do it because I want no kids. They're going to do very, very well out of the situation. But at the same time, it's that weird thing where I feel like it's half a curse because I'm like, oh, it's so nice that they'll get like a house and some money and stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but you got to clean all my mad shit out of the house. So
do what
they'll probably just torch it and do an insurance job.
Do what I think it's the Scandinavians do. Is it Scandinavian death cleaning? Is that what it is? Where like you get to middle age and you have like you just get rid of all your clutter so that your relatives or family don't have to deal with all the shit after you've gone.
Oh wow!
I'll be honest,
no.
just fucking torched a lot. I'm not bothered. It's hard. I just don't. I have no sort of. I just think well, do what you want with it. Have a big fucking car boot sale. You'll enjoy that.
Can I run the car boot sale for your death?
Yeah. The Rachel Fairburn estate sale, everything 20p. Knock yourselves out, mate.
Can I talk about their financial situation for a second? So,
of course.
Louisa, when they arrive there at Sarah's, they apply for this job.
Yeah, and they're the best candidates.
They're the best candidates. But apparently she could be very charming. So Louisa arrived, and Louisa's a big character, so it's very sort of charming. Sarah takes to her. Now, it's a good job they got this job because they were living, they didn't have a comfortable lifestyle, basically. They had a weekly pension of £2.14, and then they would get £2 from the National Assistance Board, which I assume is like, welfare kind of benefits, but it's not very much to live on a month, basically like £10. And for context, when Alfred was found guilty of indecently assaulting that 8-year-old child, he was fined £25. So maybe he's still playing off that. £25 is about £700 in today's money, which is also not enough. So Sarah, these kind of like charismatic pair who are like, we'll take care of everything. He's a handyman. I'll be your cook. Arrives. Sarah's like, brilliant. And immediately writes them into the will and promises the bungalow to them. Now,
mad.
This means that...
Well, bear in mind, can we just say as well that Sarah as well was a piss can? She used to drink consistently throughout the day. A tot of rum here, bit of whiskey there. So she was pretty much just pissed all the time. And I think that's probably why she liked them at first.
Yeah, because I think they seemed like a laugh. And then she started to complain very quickly to neighbours that they were starving her. Now, she had like this mad nightly sort of routine, which makes me feel ill, where she would pour booze into jam jars and eat the jam and the booze out of it. But is it going to be one of those things that I'm like, that makes me feel absolutely vile? Yeah, well, but then at the same time, I try it and I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever had.
You say that, but it sounds disgusting. But you pop that on a middle-class artisan market on a Sunday morning, slow gin in homemade fucking jam, and everyone's wanking off over it.
Yeah, and you're having to pay like £18 a jar for it.
It's £18 a jar. And we make the gin by squeezing it through our socks after we've done a 10K on a Sunday morning.
So she's got this really odd habit. Now, things start to go sour very quickly. So at first she likes them, And Louisa is kind of bragging around the pub. She's got a big mouth, Louisa. At the trial, she's fucked things so hard for herself because she cannot keep her mouth shut. So she's going, oh, the old lady loves me. In fact, I'm going to get a lovely bungalow and she's not long for this world anyway. So she's telling everyone she's been written into the will, that she's got this bungalow. Also, before the will was changed, she wrote in a letter to someone, I'm going to inherit this.
But then she's telling some people that Sarah's already dead. She's like, oh, yeah, she's dead, actually. This is her just mouthing off in the pub. One of the other things she told somebody was, what was it? I've found the old man in bed with her. This is it.
Yes.
He said, I'll poison the old bugger and her as well.
Now, I don't know if this was, because this came up at trial, that, was it a crime of passion? Also to cast doubt on Sarah's character and his character as well, that they were having an affair. Bearing in mind they moved into this elderly woman's house to look after her, and then he, as the handyman, is doing more than just popping up a picture rail. I don't know why, because older people are entitled to have sex as well. But it fucking knocked me sick. I think it's the jam. I think it's just the smell of that house of elderly people having sex and then an open jar of jam. I just think it's too much.
The thing is, I don't believe that anyway. I think that's probably just something she said in her.
But do you not think that is such a mad lie? Because that's a zero. So I would not. Apparently, it's a guy at a bus stop she was telling.
Yeah.
If I came home and my partner was having sex with an old woman we're meant to be looking after, I would take that to my fucking grave. I would not be telling people at the bus stop.
Yeah, but you'd leave. You wouldn't hang around, would you? You'd be like, all right, see ya.
Yeah, but my whole life, if your whole sort of life and wages is tied up in those two people in that house, then I probably would stay.
Oh, God. There's something
weird.
No,
I'll be honest, I'd probably poison them. I'd probably do what she did.
It's also grim. So they're there. She's allegedly the cook in the clip. And we must say it started off very well because, at the very start of this, Louisa realises that Sarah isn't eating much and goes, oh, well, we must feed you up. And she gets all this food in her, all this nice stuff, and starts off very well. But then as soon as she's got her feet under the table, things change, don't they? So obviously, bear in mind, they don't know about the she doesn't know about the convictions either. Now, Louisa, because she's always going on, Sarah says to them, if you look after me, I'll give you a home for life, right? And what happens is Louisa goes to a solicitor on the request of Sarah. Now, she says Sarah wants a new will. The solicitor comes to the house. Sarah says she wants Louisa and Alfred Louisa to be the beneficiary of the will, and then Alfred's like, hang on a minute, what about me? And he then gets put into the will as well. He said, well, what about your daughters? And she said, oh, well, they don't care about me, so I'll leave it all to my two new friends. And just within 2 weeks of this, Sarah's dead. Now, Louisa's very clever because she's got control of the household budget. So basically, she's just spending it all in the pubs around Blackpool. Sounds great.
Oh, and clothes. She bought herself. I found this mad stat that so they went back, obviously, when the investigation is carried out, and they went around all the shops and were like, has any money been spent here by this person? And they put it all together. She'd been out buying herself new clothes, and she'd used she had some credit vouchers, Sarah. So she had some credit vouchers, and it was about 40 quid's worth of clothes, which is about £1,000 today.
Oh my God.
So she'd spent £1,000 on clothes in Blackpool. Bearing in mind, aren't they only there for 5 weeks in total?
Kiss me quicker.
How many of those hats? How many of those hats can you get, which are in the Jamaican colours, which have deeply offensive dreadlocks attached to them? How many hats are you buying for that?
5 of them. A policeman's costume. A sexy nun.
Can I have 8 plastic dog turds, please? We should maybe, for people who are listening internationally, we should explain what Blackpool is, because it's so amazing that it's amongst this backdrop. It's one of my favourite places. You just recorded your special there as well, haven't you?
I recorded my show there, Blackpool on the North Pier. It's basically, if you're from the north of England, you'll have been there as a kid several times. It was it's the place to go when you're a kid. You go on the rides. There's the pleasure beach. It's it's brilliant. It's incredibly run down now, and the Victorian days and sort of around this time we're talking about. It would have been very nice, highly sought after place to live. You know, you've got the sea there, fresh air, beautiful big Victorian houses. It would have been a very nice place to retire to. And some of Blackpool is still really lovely, but we're talking about the promenade. Yeah. We're talking about seaside novelties. We're talking about rock in the shape of a penis. We're talking kiss me quick, squeeze me slow. We're talking the most fun and sugar you can have.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. And also loads of, do you know what's really nice is like, because it's lots of people did summer seasons there. So as performers, they would spend the summer doing shows there. It's got a huge like back catalogue, is it? Huge history of sort of like entertaining. And there's a comedy carpet there with loads of people's sort of names and quotes of their jokes on there.
I went to the new museum that's there, like the history of Blackpool entertainment. It's brilliant. My poster from my show is in there as well, in that museum now, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's so great. That's so cool.
Because my poster, Blackpool Tower, is on my poster, so on the Showgirl poster. So, yeah, it's that's Blackpool. But, yeah, you've got to go to experience it.
It really is amazing. Yeah, they sell a lot of like everything is a newsagents where you can buy like Prime, but also a keyring and like a dildo and a plastic dog turd. That's right, isn't it?
That's exactly right. So when I was there recently recording my show, I stayed and Tim came up because he'd never been to the Pleasure Beach. And the day after I'd recorded the show, we went to a chemist, an actual chemist. He needed some tinctures or whatever it is he needs. And in the shop, there was a Kiss Me Quicker. There was various other novelties. There was toys. There was an adult section. There was, and then he had to ask for his paracetamol from behind the counter. You could get anything you needed or anything you didn't need was there. But everything you did need was behind the counter. So, yeah, it's mad.
Loads of elderly entertainers live there as well because it's, you know, it's seaside. So, you know, it's like convalescing, but lots of clowns, lots of like dancing girls, things like that retired to Blackpool.
Yeah.
So there's like an incredible showbiz history where, you know, any like old lady really in a cafe is like... You know, I remember when I wanked off Elvis the first time. So, well, like, everyone's got a history. It's lovely.
Lytham, which is just next door to Blackpool, lovely place. So expensive. Yeah. Just beautiful place to live. But also, I love Blackpool. To be honest with you, I could live there. But
really?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Not on the main bit. I could probably live off, you know. It'd be too much for me. Too much for me now.
I remember going to, when I was a little girl, my mum drove me and my friend from school. And I know I was really little because she moved away when I was like 6. And she drove us to look at Blackpool Illuminations, which is where you drive very slowly, basically down the front street on the prom. And they put all these lights out. And it's so well known that I think it's outside of the north, but all dads... If you leave a light on somewhere, we'll say, it's like Blackpool Illuminations in here. But if there's like a lamp on as well as the big light. But like that's how well known Blackpool is. And you know, when I came home, so the childhood home that I had, you can see over to the mainland from the island and you can see like a cluster of lights, which I think was like Carnarvon and Felinheli and Bangor. And I thought when I was little that was Blackpool Illuminations and I could see it from my house. And I thought that's way too old, yeah.
Oh, well, my dad once there was me and my sister and my mum and my grandma. And he's like, oh, you're going to go for a drive out. And he took us to Southport, which is another seaside town. And me and my sister were like, what's this? He went, well, you know, you go on the rides there. I went, we don't think so. We want to go to Blackpool. He went, oh, get back in the fucking car then. And drove us to Blackpool. I wouldn't mind, but I was in my 20s. And my sister was, so my sister would have been about 14 and I'd have been about 22. We were like, what is it? I don't think so. I want to go to the Pleasure Beach. All right, get back in a fucking car then. So it then drove us to Blackpool. We're like, this is better. This is what we want. Thank you. Don't fucking fob us off with Southport. We want Blackpool, mate. Best chips you'll get as well. Best chippies.
Yeah, really good chippies. Basically, if you haven't been to Blackpool, go. Also, if you can stay in one of those B&Bs where they have like a conservatory that's pushed out, and there's nearly always a mannequin dressed up as Marilyn Monroe sat having dinner. I was staying at a hotel the other day on Halloween, the actual day of Halloween. And it was so funny. It was like a chain hotel, and that I love, my favourite chain. And I came in, and the woman sort of checking everyone in was dressed as the dead Queen Victoria.
Oh my God, amazing!
Like tiny, like I think she was like from the Philippines. This tiny Filipino woman, and it just was very, very unexpected to be sort of dressed, like completely made up, like a zombie Queen Victoria. And then I went to the gym, because like the reason I like it is because they have decent gym and swimming pool. Went in there, and the cleaner cleaning in the thing was also fucking dressed up for Halloween. So I like came around the corner, I could see the mop, and I came around the corner, and she's got like zombie makeup on, but a sort of like, I don't know, almost like Day of the Dead kind of outfit. It was fucking nuts. And she's like, "Hey, are you okay?" Well, she's mopping, but yeah, but she's got like blood coming out of her nose and her ears and her eyes. It was absolutely wild.
It's so funny, like fancy dress where it's not expected is so weird, innit?
Well, no, this woman was so like, I saw her the day before, because I also realised it's quite incongruous to mention her race, but she's like the most perfect little prim sort of like hotel, like she was amazing, she was good. And then just the fact that she's just like this mad, haggard old Queen Victoria the next day was really just making me piss myself.
Hey, speaking of, shout out, I must do this because you didn't meet her. When we were in Belfast, I stayed in the Premier Inn, I know. And the lady on reception was a brilliant woman called Bonita. And she was fantastic. She was such a nice woman. She was finishing a sandwich as I came in. And she checked me in early, didn't charge me, chatting to me about various things. She used to live in London, and she used to see the Gallagher brothers quite regularly dotting around. Had a little chat about that. And after we'd done the show, I was just getting back to the hotel, getting in the lift. And as I got in the lift, a chap was getting in the lift with me. And he said, "Hello, Rachel," which I was like, "Oh no, is this a ghost?" And I said, "Oh, hello." He went, "I've just been to the show." I said, "Oh, hello, nice to meet you." And because first of all, I looked at where he pressed the button on the lift. I thought, "Oh, is a Premier Plus room." And I said, "Oh, I was just thinking when you press that button, Premier Plus." He said, "Oh, it was the crowd from Birmingham. Do you remember those in Belfast?"
Yeah.
They were great, yeah. So I said, "Oh, right, yeah." I said, "You Premier Plus?" And he went, "Oh, yes, we got upgraded." I said, "Was it Bonita?" He went, "It was Bonita, yeah. She upgraded me and my boyfriend." I was like, what a woman. What a woman.
Oh.
She was brilliant. So Bonita at Belfast Premier Inn, what a woman.
Oh, that's so nice. And those guys from Birmingham, they're so lovely.
Yes.
Come all the way from Birmingham to see our show. That's so lively. Oh.
Yeah. So, where were we? Anyway, enough of this niceness.
So much hotel chat.
Yeah. So they've been to the solicitors, and Louisa also, she goes to Sarah's GP because she's obviously like, "Look, I want this house. I want this bungalow." And she goes to Sarah's GP, Dr. Yule. Very festive name. And she says, "Can you come to the house and confirm that she's of sound mind? Because she's changing a will and we don't want anything going wrong because I want this house." And she says to the doctor when she's in the room, "Oh, yeah, it's fine. I want her to have the house." But as Louisa leaves, she says to him that she doesn't trust them and they owe her money. So Dr. Yule's like, "Oh, I don't want anything to do with this." He refuses to confirm it and he doesn't want to be involved, right? So they're clearly stealing money off her as well. That's definitely happening. Yeah. And she says to Alfred one day, "Bring the solicitor to my house. I want to make some changes." And he says, "Oh, okay." But then he says, "Oh, I can't actually go. I'm busy." Right? Now,
well, it's because she said, "Go to the bank for me and then go to the solicitors."
Yeah.
And he was like, "I can't do both. So I'm going to go to the bank." But that, I reckon that is what seals the deal.
Yes. So Louisa then brings another doctor, Dr. Wood, and Sarah says to the doctor she thinks they're trying to get rid of her. Now, again, he speaks to Dr. Yule, I think, a bit later on. But by 2 p.m. the next day after this conversation, Sarah was dead. So
you have 2 doctors coming to the house to go, there's nothing wrong with her. Well, because also they were like, there's this whole weird thing where they wanted to prove that she's of sound mind, so the will change wouldn't be challenged. And so they wanted that from it, but also they wanted to show that her health was ailing, so it's not a surprise. Because apparently she had hugely deteriorated over the 5 weeks that they were in the house.
Well, Dr. Yule isn't having any of this, and he phones the police. He's like, look, something's going on here. The police go to the house, they question the Merrifields, and Louisa says that, well, she wasn't eating. She was only having a tot of rum. That's all she was having. I love that, a tot of rum. Makes it sound acceptable, doesn't it? She said, we think she's had a stroke. Now, they do a post-mortem. And the coroner's like, she's dead because of something she's eaten. This is what's happened. Now, they find rhodine in her body, which is rat poison. And her liver is very pale. And it's concluded that she has died of phosphorus poisoning. And they think, and now it's only when a friend mentions the habit that Sarah had of eating jam from the jar with a spoon, which, as you say, she liked to do with a bit of rum or a bottle of stout. And this was a regular habit. This was a daily thing. I don't know. I went like, this was a daily thing. Should be in daily thing. And then they're like, okay, this is where we think the rat poison is. Now, Louisa had actually bought some rat poison at a local chemist, presumably when she was getting a Kiss Me Quick hats. And this is where they think. So,
well,
two days.
Rodine... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say 2 days before as well, Louisa had been to a funeral director and said that Sarah didn't want her daughters to know that she was about a funeral, and she wanted to be cremated. And the funeral director was like, well, that's fine and well, but only next of kin can have this conversation.
Also, George Henry Jackson, this undertaker, the local undertaker, was like, is there a death certificate? And she's like, no, 2 doctors have refused to sign it. So it's like, okay. Now, when she is eventually buried, cremated, it's a very... No, I think she's buried. Very sad affair. There's very few people there. In fact, her daughters don't come. I think press were covering it by that time. So it only lasts minutes, the actual ceremony, and is a very sort of sad, bleak affair. Because I think even if her daughters had wanted to come, they would have stayed away because of the press intrusion. So it's a very sad end for Sarah. Now, this rhodine that has been used to poison her, very popular rat poison at the time, but also was responsible for a spate of, spate of poisonings. I lost what I was saying. I was like, my hand's up here and it hasn't got my engagement ring on, but it's because it's being cleaned. So it looks like in case, it's the kind of thing that's going to be like, I noticed that you're not wearing your engagement ring. Is everything okay, babe? Everything's fine. Anyway, so this rhodine has been used in so many poisonings that when it is sold, there's a stamp on the tin which says which chemist it came from and like when they sold it. So they look for this tin. They're desperate to find the actual tin of rhodine because then they can trace it back and then go, do you remember selling it to this person? They can't find this rhodine anywhere. They do find, people saying, oh, I remember her bragging that she had rat poison in her handbag because I remember thinking that was such a weird thing to be carrying around. They search the local area. They can't find any chemist that sold her the rhodine. And then eventually they're like, well, someone's got to have sold it. And eventually they find in Manchester, which is like a fair old whack away from... Well, it's still quite far from Blackpool, isn't it?
It's only about 45 miles. It's not too far.
Well, I mean, for a chemist to nip to. But anyway, they find a chemist who remembers a guy coming in with a hearing aid and buying the rhodine from them. And he quite famously wore a hearing aid, which was much more unusual than to have a hearing aid. So she identifies him. They say at trial, can you see anyone in here who, you sold rat poison to? She said, oh yeah, that guy there sitting with the police officers.
That bloke over there shouting, what?
But the judge during the trial, for I can't remember the reason now, but he strikes the evidence out. Excuse me. And he says, this evidence needs to be struck from the record. You can't take into account the fact, because there was no way of proving it was definitely him, because also they'd been asked to pick him out from a lineup. He was in a lineup. They'd said to the chemist, can you see the person who bought the rat poison? And she didn't pick him out. And she said, oh, well, I didn't see anyone with a hearing aid. So yes, it's all kind of dodgy. But I think if you're on, and I know, being as someone who's been on a jury, if they say, obviously you're not allowed to take that into account, as if you can do that mentally.
Well, yeah, you will, yeah. Yeah, you can.
Of course you're going to take it into account.
Yeah.
Of course. So,
I think that's a lot of the general public.
So yes, that is the rat poison is a big part of the trial, because when they get to the trial, it is only really circumstantial evidence against them. It's
at Manchester Assizes, the thing, which is which I've got a great picture of my mum as a baby and her brother and sister playing out at Manchester Assizes when it was all bombed out.
What is Manchester Assizes? That was my stomach again, if you can hear that.
It's gone now. It was bombed during the war, and there's it was sort of bits of it were bombed, and then it was sort of knocked down years later. But when it was being sort of demolished and the area was sort of derelict, there's a great picture of my mum, my uncle, my auntie playing in the in the
rubble.
sort of just playing. It's a really good picture. I'll try and find it. It's really cool.
That sounds amazing.
I guess some of the building was is sort of derelict, and I guess some of it was still being used, but then eventually it was knocked down. Designed by Alfred Waterhouse, who designed the town hall.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. So there you go. Little bit of a fact there for you. Lovely stuff.
Lovely bit of history. As the trial goes on, Louisa comes across very badly. They have loads of witnesses coming forward. Basically, what they do is they go, we can't say she bought the rat poison that then killed her. They couldn't, there was, obviously it was in her body, but there was nothing, there was no, sorry.
The prosecutor also gets rid of 2 women off the jury as well.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's like, no. We can't have these 2 women on the jury. Get rid of them.
That is unbelievably awful. They do see there's a washed up jam jar, a very well washed jam jar on the side.
I think I've been called that in the past.
But all these witnesses come forward that basically talk about Louisa being a loudmouth who would basically stitch herself up. So
yes.
Gertrude comes forward, Gertrude Thomas. She was a cook at a house that they had lived in, a lodging house they'd lived in before on Lytham Road. And she went, oh yeah, I'd done in 2 of my husbands. And she said, you know what, the last one was 80. It didn't take much to polish him off. And Gertrude remembers that conversation with her. And then she said, oh yeah, she told me how he had fallen through the bed and had a heart attack as a result of it. But Louisa had said, I set up the bed so it was wobbly. And then she just thought he was going to injure him, but he fell through and the shock gave him a heart attack and he died.
Listen, so not worse than that. I've got, it must be one of those IKEA beds like I've got. Let me tell you, the slats on those, the amount of times you just bang. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but only on your bed. Do you know when I stay in your spare room? The amount of times I've come back from a gig at 2:00 in the morning, sat on the bed, and then been like, I'm suddenly on the floor, and I've probably woken Rachel up.
It's these fucking IKEA beds with the slats. They're not long
enough.
Shit. They're fucking shit. Yeah. Anyway, if you do have a bed company, you'd like to give me a free bed, fucking come on.
Now, Louisa at trial makes a very bad impression with the judge in particular. So apparently the whole time she's sort of waving to the crowd. She's got friends in. She's like, Aya, I didn't know you were coming down. And she's like working the crowd. She's sort of laughing at stuff that comes up. The judge says, this is so funny, before he sends in the jury to deliberate, they don't take long considering it's a murder trial. I think it's about 13 hours and they find her guilty. He goes, listen, this woman, we can all agree, is vulgar and stupid, but that doesn't make her a murderer.
Do you know what? Absolutely fair. That is, I like that. That's fair, that is.
Alfred is a very interesting character. So he's referred to by the judge and others in the trial as a simpleton. Very problematic language, obviously.
Yeah, but he starts acting like a fucking moron. He starts doing it deliberately. Like, I don't know.
He's like, I don't understand anything.
Yeah. Because then as soon as he's not guilty, or, well, actually, he has to have a retrial, which is then... Is it a real trial? And it's then sort of, everyone's like, oh, we can't be asked, it's done now.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Oh, suddenly he becomes normal again. He's suddenly compass mentis and knows everything that's going on. So he absolutely played them for a fool.
It's awful. Yeah, so she is found guilty by a jury, and she is the third last woman to be hung in this country, or hanged, I never know which one it is.
Hanged.
And she is the last woman hanged at Strangeways, Manchester.
Ooh, lovely.
Yes,
nice.
the final woman to be hanged there.
Now, that's where my mum's from.
Hate
Strangeways.
No, she's not from Strangeways.
Yeah, that's the area, Strangeways.
Oh, I didn't know it was an area as well.
It's the area. That's where my mum's from, Strangeways. That's what she was brought up. Huh. Yeah.
Lovely bit of trivia there.
Yeah, nice to
Now, he is found not guilty eventually. What does he do? He moves into the bungalow of the woman that he, let's be honest, murdered.
Yeah, he gets the bungalow.
He gets the bungalow. Now, it is challenged by her daughters.
Not her daughters. Louisa's daughter.
No. Yeah, mad. So there's all this like legal wranglings over the people that clearly murdered this woman and their families trying to get more from it, the estranged daughters. Now, eventually it's sort of split between Sarah's daughters and him. And he takes the money and he buys himself a little caravan on the Golden Mile, is it called, in Blackpool, which is like the very desirable bit to live on.
No, that's just a promenade.
Sorry. He buys himself a caravan, but then he also buys himself a booth on the Golden Mile, which is on the promenade. And he sets up a booth and was like, come meet the murderess's husband. And he sits in the booth and he tells stories about his life with her. He also sells her old clothes to Louis Two Swords, which is a waxworks in Blackpool.
The day she's hanged, he does that. So she's hanged.
Really? I did not know that.
So she's hanged. She has one last visit with him and she's like, oh, take care of yourself, Alfred. And he goes and then she's hanged. He's put up in a hotel that night by a newspaper. So they're hoping that he goes to visit her and she tells him a few more things, which she doesn't. So that's all paid for by the paper. He says that the day she's hanged, she apparently she went very bravely to her death and she thanked the guards who'd looked after her. Albert Pierrepoint was the hangman. She only had a 5-foot drop because she was so short. It's nice to know what we'd have in it. And the day he's outside with the crowd, which was a huge crowd that waiting outside Strangeways prison, she is hanged. He then gets a train back to Blackpool, and that very day he sells some of her clothes to Louis Two Swords, and he declines to have his own waxwork made as well.
No, yeah, but eventually he agrees because they say, we'll give you 200 quid if we can do a waxwork that stands next to her. And he went, yeah, all right then. He basically just runs out of money, so takes it. So yeah, he spends his days sort of doing this circuit, talking about what it is like to be married to a female or a murderess, as they used to call them. It is wild because he so clearly was more involved than is implied.
Yeah.
It's so obvious to me.
Rotter.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying, well, I don't think anyone should be killed, but like she should have been found guilty and she clearly killed Sarah. But Sarah also, I don't know, there's just something so sus to me about having two husbands who in quick succession gas themselves in the kitchen using the same oven. I don't know. I think it's just,
well,
yeah.
But nobody liked her.
That's the other thing is every now and then we stumble across this, don't we, where someone has been murdered and no one's got anything good to say about them.
Well, this is it. Like, no one deserves to be murdered, but sometimes people are just horrible, you know.
Yeah.
Some people are just horrible. And I think everyone in this is horrible.
Yeah, everyone in it is horrible. Except Blackpool, who's the shining star in all this.
Blackpool is the real shining hero of this story.
So that is the story of the Blackpool poisoner. It just is horrible. It's like gives me stomach cramps. Maybe that's why my stomach's been going so much. But like the whole story with the rat poison and the jam and the banging the old woman that you're meant to be the handyman for. Honestly, it really.
Do you know what it is? Just eating stuff out of a jar with a spoon is dirty. And it's
Really?
the kind of thing. Oh, it's the kind of thing that if I would have done that when I was a child, my grandmother would have been like, "What do you? Well, you are a pig. If I ever see you doing that again, don't eat. That's dirty. That dirty. Put it dirty. It is dirty. It's dirty. Put it on pop it on a plate and have it that way. You're not eating out of the fucking. You're not camping."
Well, well, it's true. I think it's a cross-contamination, right? Surely, because if the spoon's going in your mouth and you're putting it in, it's yeah.
Oh.
But so that is the very, very bleak story of the Blackpool poisoner. But
Done.
So what have we got else to talk about? Well, we'll see you all in a few weeks at the Christmas show.
Yeah, so this will go out before Christmas, no doubt. Christmas show. It's in a week and a bit as we record this. Tickets. There's only a few tickets available. We're coming to Newcastle, and bear in mind, you fucking complained and moaned that we've not been to Newcastle for a long time, and now we're coming. So we are looking forward to it, though. It'll be really good fun.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed. I mean, we always try and get shows live streamed. It's not always possible. It's actually becoming harder now to do it. It's becoming more
really
expensive.
hard.
It's becoming more expensive and more. It's just harder. So we try, and if we can, we will. But if not, we can. We always do our best. So there's a handful of tickets left for the Christmas show. I'm on tour next year. Tickets from rachelfairburn.com. And we might have an announcement next episode, mightn't we?
We've definitely got an announcement next episode, which is quite exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on tour for a little bit longer, only till the start of December. And then that's it. You can't see it. So, yeah, please come and see some of the dates left. I've got some dates in Ireland, some dates in Scotland. So, and we put on an extra date at Bangor. So the final show will now happen on the Sunday, the 8th of December at Bangor at the extra show.
Well, that's nice.
So thanks so much.
Finish before Christmas. That's lovely. And then you can immerse yourself in your festive activities.
I'm working till the 22nd, but after that I can immerse myself in my soap salvation era.
Please don't start making soap.
I'm going to make you soap, mate. I'm going to make you soap. I cannot wait. You're going to love the soap that I make as well.
All right, okay. Well,
you can wash out your filthy fucking mouth with it, quite frankly.
Thank God you said mouth. Thank God you said mouth. I honestly, part of me was going, oh no, what she got? Oh, thank God she went for mouth.
Listen, there's not soap strong enough to deal with whatever's up your arsehole, so don't worry about that.
Oh God, right. Get off the air now. I'm sick of it.
Thanks very much for listening. Bye.